Hi, thank you for joining us tonight for our incoming ninth grade parent orientation. I'm Junko Matano, school counselor. I'd like to introduce my colleague, Lauren Moore, who I work with closely every day with our students. We're both excited to share information about the high school classes with you tonight. We also have administrators joining us, school principal, Mr. Kyle Hosier, assistant principal, Ms. Sharon Flynn, and assistant principal, Ms. Mary Rose Joseph. I'm also happy to introduce the department chairs. English department chair, Mike DeVito. Fine and Performing Arts, Brittany Robinson Chen. Math department chair, Rachel Gollin. Science department chair, Sharon Bayless. Social studies department chair, Dan Shukin. And world language chair, Jonathan Hansenbrook. Also joining us tonight is our always supportive school psychologist, Michelle Greenwald, Kelly Murphy, and Mitch Shapiro. Thank you, everyone. First, I'd like to go through the high school graduation requirements with you. Ms. Moore is going to share the slide with us. Students will receive 1 credit when they complete and pass a full year course. When students complete a semester-long class, they will earn half a credit. English, 4 credits, which means a student will be taking 4 years of English in high school. Social studies, 4 credits. Math, 3 credits. World science, 3 credits. World language, 1 credit. For world language, New York State only requires a minimum of 1 credit for graduation. However, when a student is finding success in their world language class, they're encouraged to take a minimum of 2 years. Many students continue to take their world language class every year.
Ms. McConnell, can I interrupt you just 1 second?
Sure.
My apologies. Miss Moore is having trouble with her screen, although it looks like maybe she's got it now.
Oh, we got it. I'm sorry. Okay.
No worries. There we go.
I see it at my end, so this is the graduation requirement slide. So I'm going to start, we're going to use the slide. So earth science and living environment, we talked about with the 8th graders. And Miss Moore, if you can go to the first slide for us, if not, it's okay. Great. Okay, so I was talking about the credit requirements initially. So you'll see the minimum number of credits that students need to take before they graduate. And students will need to earn a total of 22 credits before they graduate. And I'm going to go back to the elective 3.5 credits. Electives will usually be fulfilled by students taking the 4th year of math or science classes, anything that students take beyond their required credit counts. And please don't worry, the counselors will make sure that this requirement is met. And PE, students will have every year, and they will earn 2 credits from 9th through 12th grade. On the right, you'll also see on the slide about the Regents exams that students need to pass by the end of their senior year. Regents exams are New York State exams, and tests are not created by Edgemont teachers. Students will take English at the end of the 11th grade, Global Studies at the end of 10th grade, Algebra 1 Regents at the end of 9th grade, Science at Edgemont High School, typically after students complete Living Environment or Earth Science at the end of 9th grade, U.S. History and Government at the end of 11th grade. Please keep in mind that teachers are very familiar with the Regents exams, and they will put aside class time to prepare the students leading up to the June Regents exams, which are given in school according to the test dates that New York State decides. Next, Ms. Moore will talk about the course offerings.
Great. My apologies for the tech glitch. I think we're all set now. I'm going to talk about the 9th grade year. As you know, with our schedule, we have 8 courses. In addition to those 8 course slots, we have an assigned lunch period. So your child will be assigned early or late lunch next year, depending on their schedule. So I'm going to go through the courses again. These are in no particular order. As you know, the courses rotate through the day. So all students will take a science. They've chosen either earth science or living environment. Along with the earth science and living environment class, they're going to have a science lab once or twice a cycle in an 8-day cycle. They'll have physical education 3 out of the 8 days in the cycle, just as they did in the junior, senior high school. And they'll have a free period once a cycle. That free will replace what they're familiar with, which is a study hall. The difference being they won't have an assigned class to go to. They're responsible to be on campus. They can choose to go to the library to study, the cafeteria. They might have an appointment with a counselor, psychologist. If it's a nice day, taking a walk. Students will also have Global Studies 1. They'll have algebra, English 9. Students will have their world language. Most students choose to continue in the world language they're currently in. They did have the option to choose or add a second language, which would be considered an elective if they so choose. There's 2 more periods in the day. Students, if they are recommended to have resource room or receive ENL services, one of those course slots will be filled with that. And the other course can be filled with a full year or up to 2 half-year elective courses, which I'll talk about in a moment. If a student doesn't have resource room or ENL support, they have 2 course slots in their day to take electives. And I'm going to talk about those in a bit more detail right now. So we talked with the students about the course electives. Hopefully you saw that this list as well, which was available on our website, a course selection sheet. So we have some full year courses and some semester long courses. Students for full year courses, students can take Studio in 2D art, Studio in 3D art, or STEAM Studio art. So those are our 3 foundational art classes. They're great courses for students to take. They both fulfill the art credit for graduation, and they're also prerequisites for future art classes, which Ms. Robinson Chen will talk about in a moment. We also continue to offer band, chorus, and orchestra. And again, students are able to take a second world language as an elective if they so choose. For semester-long classes, we have dance, first aid, CPR, AED, Greek and Latin roots of English, Health 10. This is typically a 10th grade class, hence the 10. So it is required in 10th grade. We do allow students to take it in 9th grade. And we particularly do recommend students that are considering our Science Scholars Program, which is a 2.5-year long science research program beginning in 10th grade, or are pursuing the AP Computer Science Principles, or the double math, which will be spoken about later. Those would be potential situations where we would definitely recommend a student take health in a 9th grade to fulfill that credit. If not, they'll take it in 10th grade, or like I said, they can choose to take it in 9th grade as well. History of New York City, Introduction to Computer Science, Introduction to Engineering, Nutrition, Speech, and World Mythology. So again, if a student has resource room, they're able to select either 1 full year course or 2 semester long courses. If a student does not have resource room or ENL, they're able to choose either 2 full year courses. So they might be interested in taking both an art and music or a world language, or they can select to take 1 full year and up to 2 half-year courses at maximum. Some students do want to free in their day. They know they have a busy after-school schedule. So we do recommend in those cases, they might want to consider not taking a full load, but students are able to if they would like to have a full schedule in that way. I'm now going to turn it over to Ms. Robinson Chen, who's going to speak about our fine art electives.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Welcome, everybody. Thanks so much for being here. This is my first year as teacher leader, and I'm excited to be here to speak to you about the fine and performing arts electives. For incoming 9th graders, in terms of fine arts, as Ms. Moore mentioned, we have Studio in 2D, Studio in 3D, and STEAM Studio. These 3 courses each fulfill any requirement for art that you will need for graduation, and they each are also the prerequisite for any other art classes that you may want to take later on. Studio in 2D really focuses on drawing, painting, printmaking, anything that is in a 2-dimensional form using a variety of materials. Studio in 3D is a more hands-on approach to art creation, pottery, weaving, using different materials that you would manipulate with your hands. And STEAM Studio, which is the newest of these electives, is a more tech-based art production. So using computers to generate design more along the lines of graphic design. Each of these classes, and this is true for all of the fine arts electives, has a really nice cohesive description of each course that you can find on the Edgemont Art website. That's the QR code that you see in the upper right-hand corner. I know that many students have already visited that, but those descriptions really do a much better job of describing the layout of the course. Continuing on with the middle column, the light green, these are classes that are available as and considered upper level arts electives. And again, you would need to take one of the studio art classes in order to be eligible for any of these. Painting and drawing, kind of an extension of Studio 2D, where you're really working with paints, charcoal, pastels, any of those materials. Photography one uses real cameras, and that is where you would be exposed to, pardon the pun, using the dark room and developing film. I really didn't plan that. I wish I had. The digital photography, it uses the medium that we all carry around in our pockets all day long. It's using more of a cell phone camera, knowing how to utilize some of the functions in a cell phone camera to take really good pictures. Animation was a new course last year, and animation alternates years with jewelry design. Since animation was brand new for this school year, we're running that again next year, and it will then alternate years with jewelry design once that is more well established. Animation, which is what Ms. Carey teaches right now, is a multi-layered process for creating animation. So doing stop motion with sculpture, doing some paper-based animation for the planning. Art and Commerce, another half-year class, which looks at marketing and advertising. So any symbol that you see for a company, usually when you see McDonald's Golden Arches, you don't need to think twice about what that is. That's really the core principle behind art and commerce. It's exploring the way that we interpret those symbols and how they're used in marketing and advertising. AP Art is the capstone for the fine arts program. While there is not any prerequisite other than one of the studio level courses, we strongly recommend that you take a variety of art courses before signing up for AP Art, because you'll need those skills to be able to build out your portfolio. If we could go to the next slide. For performing arts, continuation of the classes offered for junior high, we have band 9 through 12, chorus 9 through 12, and also orchestra 9 through 12. Each of these classes meet during the same time in the day, so those students who wish to be in more than one ensemble are welcome to do that, and we're able to share the students, and we create a rotation that allows you to participate in all of them. New for next year, orchestra will be full-time, or at least that's the way that we are looking, so we're really excited about that. And that means you'll earn full credit, and that's true for all 3 of the classes. So if you are not as much into the visual arts, but music is your thing, you can earn your arts credit for graduation through one of the performing ensembles. One side note about the performing ensembles for students who are more serious musicians: if you are hoping to be included in All County, Area All State, or NISMA All State, you must be enrolled in one of the academic ensembles in order to be considered for those honor groups. That is not a Edgemont rule, that is a state music association rule. And that was newly enforced this year, so this current school year. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody is aware of that. It's also true for our extracurricular music ensembles, the jazz ensemble, jazz band, wind ensemble, vocal jazz. All of those extracurriculars, students must be enrolled in the academic course for the ensemble in order to be considered for those. Capstone for the performing arts electives, AP Music Theory. It's generally offered, it's offered to anybody, but we recommend it for students who have had several years of music study. Really dives in deeper to the nuts and bolts for how music is put together. There's a lot of ear training, and of course then culminates with the AP Music Theory exam. I'm going to turn it over now to our English chair, Mike DeVito.
Hi, everyone. Happy to be here tonight. As you can see on the flow chart, your students entering 9th grade will be placed in a single heterogeneously grouped 9th grade class. There's no option or level. You can see the texts that are read in 9th grade. Those are the core texts generally. There is some wiggle room with the core texts, and there are also a large number of supportive texts that our English 9 teachers are constantly collaborating on and developing to keep the curriculum fresh. After ninth grade, there is some choice, and that choice pretty much remains throughout the rest of the high school career in English. Students can elect to take either English 10, which is American and global literature, and much of the literature that's chosen for English 10 dovetails nicely with the Global 1 course. So often students will be reading literature that relates to what they're studying in social studies. Another option that ninth graders have going into 10th grade is the course Global Perspectives, which takes that joining of the curriculum and makes it into one course. Global Perspectives is a team-taught interdisciplinary English and social studies course that stresses media literacy, literature of the world that directly relates to social studies, and the material is aligned in that course so that you're always actually studying one work of literature while you're studying that area of the world. The other option coming out of ninth grade is to apply for the honors program. Students in January of their ninth grade year will have the option to take the honors admission essay. And then provided their score is high enough on that after it's graded by the department, and they also have teacher recommendation, they can enter English 10 honors. From there, they can elect usually to go through the honors program, 11H and 12H. Although in 11th grade, more options become available. First of all, students can apply to the alternative school, Phaedrus, out of 10th grade, where they take English and social studies courses, or they can elect what we call the selectives. We call them the selectives because they are required, but we have a menu of courses that are available each year on the 11th and 12th grade level, and courses are taught with both of those years in them. Every year there's a different menu of 4 courses, so that over the course of 2 years, students in the selectives will choose 4 of 8 available courses. They're each a half year long, a full semester. Students obviously in the honors program will continue on in honors if they so choose. And following 11H, they can take 12H. We do not offer an AP endorsed course, but 12H is the course from which students can take the AP exam if they would like to. Thank you very much. We also, the electives and through our department are listed there too. Creative writing is a 10-12 elective, and speech. Students can take in ninth grade, they can elect to take that. And many ninth graders do take speech and enjoy. I will pass it on to Rachel Golub now, the chairperson of math.
Thank you, Mike. Welcome, everybody. I'm going to go through this, I guess, more complicated flow chart than anybody else's, starting with ninth grade, which will be Algebra 1. Regardless of what level, all of our ninth graders will take some level of Algebra 1. The Algebra 1 with lab students will have an additional lab period twice a cycle to help support their needs. All 3 levels will take a Regents at some point during the year. Algebra 1 with lab and Algebra 1 with lab and Algebra 1 will take it at the end of the year. But our honor students will take it midway through the year. And then they spend a lot of the second half of the year focusing on those honors level topics that are beyond the scope of the Regents exam. After the completion of ninth grade, students will take some level of geometry, usually followed by some level of Algebra 2 in 11th grade. Our honor students take a combo class of honors Algebra 2 and pre-calc to prepare them for taking a college level calculus course their senior year. Students who are not in honors but choose to take a calculus level course prior to graduation have the option of doubling up in their 10th grade year. That means taking geometry concurrently with Algebra 2. Those students would do that during 10th grade. 11th grade, they'd be sitting in a pre-calculus class with probably seniors beside them. And then their senior year, they would take the AP Calculus AB class. We also have some wonderful electives we offer. The Intro to Computer Science class is the one that's available to ninth grade. That's a half-year course, and it's a great intro for students who may be interested in taking our AP Computer Science electives. We have AP Computer Science Principles, which is open to 10th, 11th, and 12th graders. And AP Computer Science A, which is open to 11th and 12th, If your child is actually interested in taking both, we do suggest they take the principal's course first, followed by the AA course. The other elective we have is AP Statistics, and that is available to juniors and seniors. One additional thing I do want to add is, along with the usual like supplies that you need for high school, we do recommend that students purchase a graphing calculator, and the one we recommend is the TI 84 Plus Color Edition. This will come out with all the supply list, and you'll see this then. I just want to say this because sometimes parents purchase a different wonderful calculator, but this is the calculator that we're projecting, that we're teaching with, and that the teacher is most comfortable with, so that we can help your child the best if you have the same one that we're using and we're projecting and that their peers are using. So we encourage you to get that one. And if you have any questions or concerns about that, please feel free to reach out to me. And we're excited to welcome your child to high school. And I'm going to pass this on to Sharon Bayless.
Thank you, Rachel. As mentioned earlier, the state requires 3 years of science. However, most of our students will take 4. In 9th grade, the students have the option of taking either living environment or earth science. About 3/4 of our students take living environment, or what used to be referred to as biology. If the students choose this option, then they will take a chemistry class in 10th grade. We offer both general chemistry and an honors class. Entrance into honors chem is going to be based on their performance in their year of living environment. Once they get past 10th grade, there's a number of different options available to the students. There's an introductory physics class, and 11th grade is then the first year where students now have the option to take an AP course. We offer AP Biology, AP Chemistry, AP Physics, and AP Environmental Science. The requirements to get into these AP classes is maintaining an average of B in their science classes in grades 9 and 10. Electives are also offered as juniors, but as a junior, it should be taken as a second science class for them, so in addition to another course. The electives rotate between forensics, astronomy, anatomy, and neuroscience. And in 12th grade, students now have the opportunity to take any of these classes, including an elective as their primary science. The other science option that is offered is Science Scholars. This is a research course that the students take in addition to their regular class. If they decide to join, they'll start the program in 10th grade, and they continue through the first semester of 12th grade. And more information about Science Scholars will be shared with the students next year. And next, we'll hear from Dan Schuckett about the social studies options.
Thank you, Ms. Bayless. Social studies is fairly straightforward. Like English in 9th grade, there are no options. Everyone takes Global 1 in 9th grade. Global 1 is the first year of a 2-year sequence for New York State. Students, when they leave 9th grade and enter 10th grade, is the first year that they have choices. They could continue on the global path and take Global 2, Global Studies 2, or they can opt into the Global Perspectives class, which is that co-taught class with social studies and English. They can also elect to get into AP European History in 10th grade with the recommendation of their 9th grade social studies teacher. From 10th grade to 11th grade, they have the option of taking either Regents level American history or AP American history. 11th grade to 12th grade. 12th grade, New York State says you need 4 years of social studies. In 12th grade, you're either going to take law and government 1 semester and economics the 2nd semester. So those are both half-year classes. Or if you're in that AP track, and you don't have to be coming from the AP track in 11th grade to take an AP class in 12th grade, you could take AP macroeconomics instead of regular economics, and you can take AP government and politics instead of law and government. The electives that we offer are psychology, which is open to 10th graders and above, the history of New York City, which is open to ninth graders and up, current international issues, and AP Psychology, which is a year-long class open to 11th and 12th graders. I should mention that the New York City class and current international issues classes are semester-long classes. So that's the menu for social studies. And now I'd like to turn it over to my colleague in world languages, Jonathan Hansenbrook.
Hi, everyone. As you can see, the world language course sequence is almost as complex as the math sequence. I will do my best to work you through it. So right now, almost all of your children are currently enrolled in our Spanish, Latin, or French 8/1B classes. If that's the case and they're choosing to continue on with that language, they'll move into the level 2 class, so Spanish 2, Latin 2, or French 2. Some of you do have students who began a language this year for a variety of reasons. They will move to the 1B classes next year, and then the following year they will follow the same sequence that I'm about to describe for all of our students. So in world language, we do offer a full 4 years of language experience in all 3 of our languages. All students are enrolled in the 2 level at this point, or obviously for the few of you who are in the 1B next year. After the level 2, for Latin and French, the sequence is simple. You go to 3H, 4H, 5H. In Spanish, because we do have so many students who are enrolled in Spanish, we have the ability to do some differentiation of experiences at the 3 and 4 levels. So we do have a 3 level and a 3 honors level, a 4 level, and a 4 honors level, and students can move between those 2. We do set a recommended threshold of a 90 or above at the end of Spanish 2 for placement into the 3 honors course. Many students choose to, who do not hit that threshold, do choose to enroll in the 3H anyway. We have what's called the appeals process. My department members and I typically will not stand in the way of an appeal, but we will make sure that you and your students know what our recommendation is. But if students are going to push themselves and try to achieve it at a level that they're not quite qualified for yet, we're not going to stand in their way, and we'll give them as much support as we can. We just want to make sure that all of our students are making an informed decision about their placement. At the end of our sequence in all 3 levels, students are prepared to take the advanced placement exam in that language, but we do not require students to take it. We refer to our upper level courses as advanced honors courses, so students have the option, but they are not required to do so. As Ms. Matano and Ms. Moore mentioned earlier, New York State graduation requirements are a single year of world language. However, that is a bare minimum, and the colleges, selective and highly selective colleges that Edgemont students typically apply to, really require almost a minimum of 2 years of language, and they look very favorably upon 3 and 4 years of language experience, because these colleges are obviously looking for students not only who achieve highly in their classes, but in particular, they're looking for applicants who have a wide range of educational experiences and a diversity of academic classes. World language is definitely an area where students can stand out, because we do offer advanced courses in all 3 languages at the upper level. Certainly possible that your child might want to switch languages at this point, and your child can do so. If they do, they'll move into the 1A class, or if they choose to do some work over the summer and pass a placement exam, they can place into a slightly higher level. Our department practice and philosophy is that we will place students at the level that is appropriate to their learning, not necessarily they do not necessarily have to go year by year. We don't encourage students to try to push themselves, because If you get to 5H in 11th grade, you have nowhere to go in 12th grade. And we are happy and pleased with the sequence that we have. We also offer 2 half-year electives. This year we ran for the first time Greek and Latin Roots of English. It was very well received and enjoyed by the students who took it. And this coming year, we are happy to add to our course offerings a World Mythology course. And that also is a half-year course looking at not only ancient mythological stories from Greece and Greece and Rome, but also from other regions and cultures from around the world. So it is a world mythology course, although it will definitely include many of the Greek and Roman myths that kids love to read about and discuss. And with that, I'd like to turn this over to Dr. Mitch Shapiro to talk about peer and some of the other related services and opportunities that his program offers.
Thanks, Jonathan. Appreciate it. Nice to be here, everyone. As you know, your 8th graders have been enrolled in a curricular program this year called Teen Talk. That program is led by my colleagues on the Zoom, Dr. Greenwald and Ms. Murphy. Even though Teen Talk concludes at the end of this school year, Ms. Murphy, Dr. Greenwald, and I will continue to be available to you and your children in high school, either by appointment or simply dropping by the counseling suite. But tonight I want to talk to you briefly about the high school version of Teen Talk, Peer Advocacy, a program that I coordinate for the school. What is peer advocacy? Peer, as the students call it, is a conversation, or more accurately, it's a series of them. These conversations occur between 8 to 12 same grade peers, 2 older peer leaders, 10th, 11th, or 12th graders, and myself. Participation is optional, but it's a popular program, especially for incoming high school students who generally find it helpful. And that's the reason I'm highlighting it here. These conversations cover a variety of topics, including managing stress related to academic and social expectations, determining the differences between healthy and unhealthy relationships, learning to communicate effectively with peers, teachers, and parents, and a whole lot more. Students that sign up are randomly assigned to groups in late September and meet in my office once per cycle during their lunch periods throughout the school year. We recently started the application process for 9th and 10th graders to apply to become peer leaders, the students who co-lead those groups in my office. So rather than tell you more about peers' potential impact, I thought I'd read you a few testimonials from the applications to give you a sense for what the current peer leaders think. One student said, "One of my favorite parts of peer is when the group discussion unpredictably follows something someone brought up when we share what's on our minds. These little moments where everyone is pitching in thoughts without any self-consciousness are always the best part for me. Separate from that, I also like when the discussion becomes deeper than I had a soccer game this weekend, and it becomes more of this is going on in my life right now. And we discuss how we really feel about certain things. I think that peer conversations can reach their best when the entire group feels comfortable with one another and is sharing stressful situations freely or just updating the group on the great things in their lives." Another student said, "One of my favorite peer moments occurred only a few weeks ago when we were talking about courses for next year. We discussed the honors English placement essay, people appealing decisions, and other things related to 10th grade course selections. These are topics I wasn't very comfortable talking about with my friends because it can be a weird conversation to have. But when we talked about it in the peer group, it wasn't weird, and it actually was really nice to hear different perspectives. I also liked hearing the thoughts of my peer leaders since they had already been through it. I'd been avoiding thinking about the topic, so it was good to share some of my own thoughts about what I was nervous about and what I was excited for." Finally, another student said, "What I like about peer is that we don't say names, and whatever is said in Dr. Mitch's room stays in his room. I think that peer offers a sense of trust to students. It's an opportunity for kids that aren't necessarily friends outside of the group to really get to know each other, and that's a pretty unique thing." So shortly after the school year begins next year, I'll be sending out a Google form for students to register to be assigned to a peer group. I'll also ask Mr. Hosier to feature the Google form and a blurb about it in one of his weekly communications to parents so that you can encourage your 9th graders to give peer a shot. Thanks for your time tonight. And with that, I'll turn it back to Ms. Moore for questions about everything you've seen and heard tonight.
Great. Thank you so much. We hope you found this information helpful. I just want to take a quick moment to remind you that if you do have any questions, please complete the question form, Google form that was sent out in the emails. We do have a few questions now. Before I get started, I just want to remind you also, in addition to the information tonight, if you want to read about any of the classes in more detail, I would highly encourage that you go to our curriculum bulletin. If you go to the counseling department website, you'll see a special tab specifically for course selection process. Hopefully some of you have already looked at that. On there, you'll find all the steps to the process, the form. You'll also find the curriculum bulletin and the art department website. They have a great website that shows examples of our students' artwork. So again, I would highly encourage you to check out the curriculum bulletin if you're interested to learn more about the courses, any prerequisites for courses for future planning. We've also encouraged your students to do the same. So I'm going to jump into questions. The first question was, I'm just going to go off our slideshow, was trying to understand what a typical schedule looks like. Would a student have a free / a study hall if they take the 2 credits of elective, so 1 full year plus 2 half years? So as I mentioned earlier, if a student chooses to take either 2 full years or 1 full year and 2 semesters, they wouldn't have a free, aside from that 1 free per cycle opposite of their science lab and PE classes. Again, if a student thinks a free would be helpful, and we often talk to students about having a balance, then we would recommend that they perhaps just take one elective, or they might want to take 1.5 and have half of the year free. Those are all options. So that's our first question. Our next question is the workload much different as a student enters high school? Does anybody want to answer that? Do you want me to?
I can answer that.
Great.
And please feel free to join me, everyone. I think appropriately, senior high school starts from 9th grade. So generally, the homework load will increase in 9th grade compared to 8th grade. But I think the teachers, we continue to meet as 9th grade team. The teachers are very conscious about our students starting the senior high as 9th graders. So the teachers and faculty members, and administrators, we all communicate with each other. And teachers continue to have office hours. A year, the students are a year more mature, and they do use office hours when they have questions or they want to learn how to study better. Our 9th grade team is wonderful about sharing different study skills. Miss Moore and I, the school psychologists, continue to work with our 9th graders too. And we also emphasize balance. Students are really, continuing to look for what they're interested in outside of the classroom. And 9th grade is a great year, I think, for our students to continue a club or athletic activity or community service. At the same time, we also encourage them to find something new. And hopefully they will gradually find something that they're passionate about and that they can continue. So we really would like our students to continue those activities in addition to continuing their learning process at the high school.
Great. The next question, would you consider offering Mandarin as a world language option? There are listed several other schools, Bronxville, Chappaqua, Scarso, that do offer them. And the feeling is Chinese is a language of strategy and global importance.
At this time, there's no movement in offering another world language, nor dropping one language in place of another. The curriculum is always something we're looking at revising, but at this time, it's not something that we're actively pursuing.
Great, thank you. Let's see. One more question was related to electives. The question was, are students still able to take the electives we listed in future years? So I can answer that. The question is yes. So any of the courses we presented as elective options for 9th grade continue to be options through 12th grade. In addition, as students get older, as you saw with the electives listed on the various department slideshows, there's additional electives that will be added to the list that you already saw. Every year, our departments are exploring new options as well. So there could always be some changes from year to year as well. Let me check. Looks like that is the end of our questions. Anything that anybody wants to add before we head off? Great. All right. Well, if you have any questions that do come, or perhaps you're watching a recording of this, please do feel free to reach out to any of us here tonight. If it's specific to a subject, you can reach out to the department chair. If it's more general, to any of us. And we hope that you found this informational and helpful as your student transitions to 9th grade.